Hi guys, good to see you. Okay, I know you came in for books today and I have some suggestions that I think you're really gonna like. All right, Abby, you are 5th grade. Aaron, you're 6th grade. I think these are all a good match for both of you. And I know you both have a kind of difference in the books that you like, but you both really liked Harry Potter, which means you like characters, a good character-driven book. That maybe they're funny, but also kind of deal with some deeper things. And so all 3 of these books are about really courageous, strong, funny kids. And they all happen to be 10, which is kind of interesting. And they rely on their friends and to kind of help them, kind of like in Harry Potter, and find courage to get through the things that they're dealing with. All right, so I'm going to show you the books first. This is Circus Mirandus by Cassie Beasley. And I have a paperback coming in soon, which has a different cover, which I think you would like better. So try not to judge it by its cover. I'm going to talk to you more about that in a minute. Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. I know that Aaron and Abby both read The One and Only Ivan, so you recognize that author, right? Yeah, so she wrote another book, Crenshaw. And The Higher Power of Lucky by Susan Patron. And I'm going to start by talking about that one. The illustrations are by Matt Phelan. So Aaron, I know you read those graphic novels, Storm in the Barn and Snow White. So I think you'll enjoy some of these illustrations. It's not a graphic novel, but there's some good illustrations in there. So The Higher Power of Lucky is about this girl named Lucky who's 10. And she lives in a desert in California, a very small town. And Lucky's mom has passed away. And so she is now living with her dad's ex-wife, Brigitte, who's French, who's come to be her guardian. And she loves Brigitte, and she's always saying funny French things, and she talks about how Brigitte calls her little flea, which in French sounds a lot better than in English. And she has some great friends. Her best friend is Lincoln, this boy who can tie amazing knots. And he's a really strong guy too. He always jokes that he's very presidential, like his name's Lincoln. And so his mom really thinks that he's going to become president one day, and she thinks so too. And there's a little boy in this story, Miles, who is kind of always sad and kind of like this sweet mess who just lives on eating cookies. And she hangs out with these 2 boys and tries to get through a lot on her own. She works around town and she cleans up after these meetings that grown-ups have, and where they talk about finding a higher power to help them get through their troubles. And so as Lucky thinks about her mom, who's passed away, that she misses, and trying to work out what's going to happen, because she thinks that Brigitte is going to go back to France without her. And she's really worried about that. And she's not quite sure, how she's going to make it. And so she packs a survival kit, and she decides she's going to find her higher power. And you should read it to find out how her friends help her and what happens with Lucky and Brigitte. All right, so that's book number 1. Book number 2 that I'd like to suggest is Crenshaw. So now, like I said, this is the same author as The One and Only Ivan, except this is a completely different story. This is about a little boy named Jackson, and he is very factual. He does not like things to be sugar-coated, and his parents are musicians. And he has a little sister, a little 5-year-old sister. And they're always looking on the bright side of things, always kind of putting a positive spin on things. And Jackson gets so frustrated with that. He just wants to hear it like it is. And so Jackson is having a hard time because his parents in the past have had a hard time with money. And so he and his sister are kind of used to having to maybe only have 1 meal a day, or kind of have things that they don't really want to eat, but that's the only thing that's there. And so money is a big problem for them. And so Jackson is very concerned that they're going to get kicked out of their home. And so all of a sudden, an old friend comes back to visit him, who is Crenshaw, this 7-foot-tall purple cat who is super funny. And the interaction between Crenshaw and Jackson is just hilarious because Jackson just wants things, you know, just so and just facts and wants to deal with them head on. And Crenshaw is this crazy, whimsical character. And it's his imaginary friend from when he was little who helped him out before when his family had troubles. And so Jackson is struggling because he feels like he's kind of the one that can handle everything in his family. He's not putting a positive spin on everything. He can look at the real facts and handle it. And his friend Crenshaw kind of helps him realize that he doesn't have to handle everything, that he's, you know, just a boy, and that he and his family will work it out. So you should check this out and see what happens with Jackson and his family and Crenshaw. He's super funny. Okay, so the last one is Circus Mirandus by Cassie Beasley. And so like I said, this is coming out in paperback. It's got a better cover. So Circus Mirandus is about a little boy and his grandpa. And so Micah is 10 and he lives with his grandpa Ephraim, who is this amazing storyteller, and he's so kind, and he teaches Micah all these really amazing knots. And they're just connected. They just love each other so much. And Grandpa Ephraim tells Micah about Circus Mirandus, about when he was his age, when he was 10. And so the book kind of goes back and forth in some chapters where it goes back where Grandpa Ephraim is a boy. And so you kind of have to be paying attention to that. So, but you can kind of get a little bit more of the background about Grandpa Ephraim and the circus from having that story being told when he was a boy. But the majority of the story is told from Micah's perspective. And so Micah is this boy who lives with his grandpa, and he's got this good friend, Jenny Mendoza, who is kind of like a Hermione type character. She's got a plan, and she's not very imaginative. She just kind of wants to stick with the plan. And Grandpa Ephraim becomes very sick. So sick that his sister, Micah's great aunt Gertrudis, has to come live with them. And she is awful. She's just awful to Micah, and she's awful to Grandpa Ephraim, and she tries to keep them away from each other, and it's just miserable. But Grandpa Ephraim is able to tell Micah not to worry because he has written to the Lightbender, this amazing person at Circus Mirandus, and he's asked him for a miracle that he was promised when he was Micah's age, and he's been saving it his whole life. And so Micah's just so worried about his grandpa, and he's worried about the Lightbender not giving him his miracle, and so he and Jenny set off to find Circus Mirandus and to make the Lightbender give Grandpa Ephraim his miracle. And so read this book, and because you'll find out if the miracle is really the one that Micah thought it was, and if Jenny Mendoza is able to see Circus Mirandus. All right, enjoy these books.